The scene begins with 3 fierce orcs wreaking havoc on a village, setting everything ablaze and mercilessly taking lives for their amusement. During their celebration, a lone adventurer named Ikusaba Asahi appears. Bravely, he draws his sword and warns the orcs to spare themselves by avoiding a fight with him. But the orcs are offended by his arrogance, and the eldest brother charges into attack, only to be instantly defeated by Asahi's powerful sister, Maya. Later, Asahi recalls his past in the real world, where he tragically lost his life while saving a little girl from a car accident. Regret fills him as he thinks about the things he didn't do and the games he never played. The memory of his elder sister, Maya, brings the most regret, and suddenly, a mysterious light transports Asahi to another world, an isekai world full of swords, magic, and dragons. Asahi starts his journey in this new world like a typical RPG character. He sells his smartphone to buy equipment and takes on an E-Class QE Class the Adventurers Guild. In the forest, he faces a wyvern, hoping that he possesses some overpowered cheat skill. But reality disappoints him as his stats are merely basic tier. In desperation, he calls upon his sister for help, and to his surprise, Maya responds to his summons and effortlessly defeats the wyvern with her magic. She reveals that Asahi is in a coma in their previous world and somehow his spirit got transported to this new world. Maya's deep love for her brother compels her to follow him even in death. The siblings decide to start their new life together in this foreign world. In the present, Maya ruthlessly dispatches the orcs for daring to insult Asahi by calling him a pipsqueak. The villagers mistake him as the hero who defeated the monsters, and they cheer for him. After completing the quest, Asahi visits the guild and discovers that his rank has significantly improved to the ogre class due to his recent achievements. However, Tanya, the guild lady, warns him about the consequences of falsely inflating his rank, words which are bullets to his head. Asahi asks Maya to conceal her true strength and pretend that he is the strong one. Meanwhile, the renowned party of adventurers, Baumunk, led by the dragon hunter Siegfried, sets out to defeat the Demon King. Another adventurer insults the locals for praising Siegfried, and they turn to Asahi for help. While putting on a fake demeanor, quickly receives support from Maya, who helps him defeat the angry adventurer from the crowd. In the maturing adventurers, the party is wiped out by a mysterious entity, for the sake of finding someone worthy of facing off against her powers. The following day, Asahi heads to the Adventurers Guild, realizing that he cannot count on Maya to do everything for him. Upon entering the guild, Asahi meets up with Tanya. She is a little shocked after hearing Asahi's odd request, but Asahi reveals his intention of going back to basics, a statement which impresses Tanya. She then briefs Asahi about the recent request concerning rainbow mushrooms. After hearing the details, Asahi accepts the job thinking that it would be a piece of cake. Meanwhile, back in her room, Maya enjoys some quality time with Asahi's warm bed. Right after, Asahi finds the rainbow mushrooms in the forest, but his luck takes a turn for the worse, as Asahi finds himself in the territory of the demon bears. Asahi runs like never before after seeing a demon bear. Unexpectedly, a powerful spell kills the bear, which makes Asahi think that Maya came to the rescue, but in reality it is a demon known as Chimera of Corruption. Suddenly, the guardian of the forest, Kaiser Bear, awakens, seeking revenge for his comrades. Meanwhile, Asahi trembles in fear, not knowing what situation he has gotten himself into, but Chimera assures Asahi that she will protect his younger brother since he called her Big Sis. The Kaiser Bear uses his magic to launch a strong fire attack, but in the face of Chimera's magic, Kaiser Bear's attacks are futile. She then demonstrates the true strength of her fire by using the spell Crimson Flames, which incinerates the Kaiser Bear, giving Asahi the impression that Chimera is stronger than Maya. After the fight, Chimera introduces herself as one of the 6 generals in the Demon King's army. She then reveals that she is on a quest to locate Asahi, an adventurer who has rapidly increased his ranks, a statement which scares the hell out of Asahi. Due to his insane bad luck, Asahi's badge slips out of his pocket tee, revealing his true identity. The atmosphere quickly changes as Chimera proceeds to attack Asahi, wanting to go fight with him. Meanwhile, Asahi makes a run for it. Luckily, Asahi runs into Maya, who mistakes Chimera for wanting to steal Asahi's virtue. On the other hand, Chimera attacks without wasting a single mom, and for the first time her attacks are countered by her foe. Meanwhile, Asahi moves to the sidelines as he witnesses the impact of the attacks. He realizes that Maya and Chimera are both matched in strength. After a raging battle, Maya unleashes a deadly attack to knock down Chimera. She then gives Asahi the chance to deliver the final blow, but he refuses the idea. by revealing that Calmeria saved his life twice. The next day, Asahi and Maya complete many easy quests to raise Asahi's level. On a bridge, Asahi happily shares that he reached level 10. But he still can't figure out how leveling up works. He thinks it might be based on damage or contributions in battles. During their chat, Maya comes up with a plan to boost Asahi's level rapidly by having him inflict damage on powerful monsters she captures. Asahi doesn't like the idea. Maya then suggests another plan, for Asahi to attack her, which will level him up quickly. Sadly, Asahi declines this idea. To celebrate Asahi's success, Maya gives him a long hug, and he surprisingly uses a new skill called Escape. Things take a turn when Maya chases after Asahi at full speed, and he runs out of MP after using Escape once. Later, Asahi visits the Adventurers Guild to find some solo skills. Tanya asks him to join a party, explaining the various roles within the group known as Bulmink. Asahi dreams of being at a party but asks Tanya for time to think about it. Outside the guild, near a bar, Asahi comes across some bullies harassing a drunk man. To rescue the man, Asahi plans to distract the bullies using his escape skill, but the drunk man defeats them before they reach Asahi. The drunk man turns out to be the legendary dragon hunter, Siegfried. He shares a terrifying encounter with a mysterious demon during his quest to defeat the Demon King, which led him to disband his party and return to solo adventuring. Siegfried advises Asahi that being at a party isn't all it's cracked up to be, as some party members had unpleasant habits that made it a drag to keep up with them. After their conversation, Siegfried sees the same innocence and will to save people in Asahi that he once had, which motivates him to get back to his adventurous life. Meanwhile, Asahi heads to the guild, now ready to join a party. Unexpectedly, Tanya forces him to accept an urgent request to deal with wyverns terrorizing the locals, preventing him from visiting the inn and sending him directly to the quest site. At the site, Asahi faces great peril due to the overwhelming number of wyverns. To his surprise, Calmeria arrives and saves him by obliterating the wyverns. She then returns Asahi's adventurer's badge, which he had dropped. Maya shows up, and at first, they argue, but they eventually start to get along, and Asahi notices their similarities. After defeating the wyverns, Asahi heads into the Adventurers Guild. Apparently, he ran out of money. He asks Tanya to give him a job that pays a huge reward. In response, Tanya reveals that the Adventurers Guild received a request from a high-ranking noble, and as a reward Asahi will receive his own house, which will end all of nights at the inn. In an instant Asahi accepts the job. After taking the job, Tanya with a devilish grin reveals that Asahi must eliminate the evil spirit in an abandoned house. Asahi finishes up his business at the guild and returns to the inn, where he explains their latest quest to Maya, while hoping that the evil spirits are just part of an urban legend. The two siblings get ready and head out to the quest site. On their way to the mansion, Asahi takes a 180 turn and starts acting like a baby who's scared of ghosts, a behavior which reminds Maya of the first time Asahi played with a horror game, giving Maya a chance to tease Asahi. Finally, after a long walk, the siblings reach the house where the evil spirits reside. Apparently, it has the ability to absorb the life force of whoever touches the door. Initially, the spirit absorbs some of Asahi's vitality. Annoyed by the situation, Maya feeds the evil spirits her life force, but her strong vitality makes the evil spirit throw up. After entering the house, Asahi and Maya patiently take a tour, thinking of all the fun things they would do together, but their conversation is interrupted by the evil spirit, who constantly attacks Asahi, which forces Maya to expend all of her potions. She then challenges the evil spirit to a fair fight. Upon revealing itself, the spirit realizes that Maya's power rivals the 6 great demon generals, or it might be on par with the Demon King himself. Taking advantage of the situation in front of him, the spirit takes over Maya's body. With an evil grin, the spirit walks closer to attack Asahi. At first, he uses escape to dodge to move away, but then Asahi musters up the courage to remove the spirit from the Maya's body. To his surprise, Calmeria shows up at the house. Asahi quickly walks up to her to explain the entire situation. He then tells her not to destroy the house. Right after Calmeria comes up with a way of competition without fighting, she proposes an arm wrestling match. After the preparation, the match begins. Both parties use their full strength, destroying the house in the process, but things get worse as Maya defeats Calmeria in the arm wrestling match. The evil spirit then pins Asahi to the ground in order to attack him. In a state of desperation, Asahi uses his passion to remind Maya of herself while purifying the spirit in the process. Later, Maya reveals that she was pretending to be controlled by the evil spirit. The following morning, Asahi receives the house as a reward for completing the quest. The following day, another new adventure awaits Asahi as he heads to the guild. Tanya reveals that a secret entrance to a dungeon has appeared in the forest. The deep entrance has been discovered after a natural disaster shifted the landscape, but rumor has it that two very powerful entities were duking it out in the forest, which lead to the destruction of the lands. Tanya further explains that the guild wants Asahi to venture into the dungeon to study the area and evaluate the danger it harbors for other low-ranking adventurers unlike Asahi, an ogre-ranked adventurer. After hearing Tanya's explanation, Asahi heads out to the forest thinking that he could finish up the quest alone, but little does he know a mysterious creature is keeping tabs on him. To his surprise, Maya followed him all the way from their house. The two siblings then headed into the dungeon. Excited by their expedition, Asahi starts off by explaining the basic rules and conditions of a dungeon. Asahi introduces Maya to the concepts of traps and master of labyrinths. He then displays the left-hand rule to locate the end of the dungeon, a plan which backfires when Asahi accidentally activates two traps. After dealing with the traps, Asahi and Maya encounter the undead knights. Due to her instincts, Maya prepares to fire off a spell, but Asahi stops her in time, saving them both from burying themselves. After a long journey, the two siblings reach the deepest part of the dungeon. Unexpectedly, there was no master of the labyrinth. Instead, there were Kaiser Bear's offspring. In the end, Asahi decides to close the dungeon for other low-ranking adventurers by reporting to the guild that the dungeon might collapse anytime, in order to keep the bear offspring safe. The two siblings then leave the dungeon. That's when Maya becomes her usual self and starts to cling on Asahi. He uses his escape skill to run into town. As a result, Asahi uses up all of his MP. While in town, Asahi runs into Comeria, who unexpectedly is dressed like a normal village girl. She explains that the use of perception magic allows her to change her appearance. She wanted to see the daily lives of humans with her own eyes. She then asks Asahi to take her around town, a request which he happily accepts. The two begin their tour. Asahi shows her around the entire town, including the bridges and a beautiful view of the city. Out of nowhere, Comeria offers Asahi to become a demon, since he has useful skills, but Asahi refuses the kind offer, stating that Maya is his family. Later, Asahi drops by the guild with Comeria. He reports the entire situation, revealing that the dungeon might collapse if low-ranking adventurers venture into it. For some reason, Tanya is extremely jealous of Comeria. She hands out the reward for the quest and leaves the reception. Just then, Asahi's stomach sounds an alarm. He takes Comeria to a restaurant where she gets drunk insensibly. Meanwhile, seeing her cuteness, Asahi wonders if Maya would take Comeria's side once all the other adventurers figure out her true identity. After clearing the bill, Asahi runs into Siegfried. He then introduces himself to Comeria, but after shaking her hand, he realizes the immense strength wielded by her. All of a sudden, chills run down Siegfried's body, and he starts feeling dizzy. The two then go to Asahi's home where Comeria tries to prank Maya, but her plan fails, as Maya recognizes the immense aura inside her body. Later, the three of them enjoy a delicious dinner made by Maya. The next morning, Asahi starts his training by killing a little wolf. That's when his bad luck kicks in and the parent wolf shows up, with the intention of taking revenge, but Maya arrives in the nick of time and with her big sis Earthquake. She buries the wolf. After completing the quest, Maya notices that Asahi received a small scratch. Initially, she forces Asahi to drink a super rare potion, but after some convincing she decides to lick the wound and let it heal. That's when Maya's creepy side reveals herself. To avoid the situation, Asahi uses escape to shake her off. In the middle of town, Asahi encounters Sophie, a healer working in an adventurer's party. She heals the wound Asahi obtained from the fight. Later, Asahi drops by the guild with Maya. In a state of panic, Tanya reveals that a party, which went inside the dungeon to look for treasures, has not returned yet. Asahi realizes that Sophie is a healer in the same party. She assigns the task of bringing them back safely over to Asahi. He rushes over to save the party where he finds Sophie, who is about to be eaten by a monster. After saving them, both Asahi and Maya leave the location. Meanwhile, Sophie regains her conciseness and rejoices on the fact that she found her own hero, the one she was looking for a long time. Later, Asahi and Maya enjoy a meal at the tavern, where he reveals that he didn't want Sophie to see her covered in the monster filth. Unexpectedly, their conversation is interrupted by Sophie, who reveals that her mother told her to serve the hero once she found him. She then asks Asahi to join his party as the healer. Out of nowhere, Sophie's previous party members arrive at the tavern to pay her a visit. They blame her for destroying their reputation while injuring her teammates. To Asahi's surprise, Sophie confronts her previous teammates by calling them useless. She starts off by calling her previous leader a suicidal maniac. as she states that their wizard chokes on makeup and finally their thief cannot disarm a trap properly, blowing Asahi's perception of her as a shy type. The situation quickly escalates and a fight brews in the tavern. Maya uses her sharp thinking and throws some pepper spray. In the state of confusion, she defeats the adventurers and runs away with Asahi. Later, at the Adventurers Guild, Asahi makes an easy request, explaining to Tanya that humbleness will take him far, as it is the trait of the real pros. Suddenly, Sophie arrives at the guild and joins Asahi in his quest. After going into the forest, Asahi kills some low-level monsters to gather resources. He starts feeling like the main character. That's when Sophie runs into the wild to provoke a giant monster. Luckily, a huge boulder of earth magic falls on the monster from above, successfully saving Asahi from the monster while keeping his reputation. Right after, Maya and Calmeria meet up with Asahi after fighting a few rounds. One night, the Demon King's army attacks a nearby village, with the hopes of transforming it into their base of operations for future invasion. The demons are led by the great Stelepath the Cyclops, a demon-serving Giganto of the 100 Beast who is one of the 6 demon generals of the Demon Lord. Meanwhile, the villagers have lost all hope of their survival. That's when Maya jumps into action. She uses her fire spell to incinerate Stelepath, which shocks the entire demon army. Seeing her monstrous strength, the demon army flees while calling Maya a monster, which sounds ironic to Asahi. Unfortunately, some of the demons were too slow to escape. Asahi takes advantage of the moment to slay the monsters. To his surprise, the demons are capable of doing a special dance which hypnotizes Asahi. He then unknowingly confessed his love for Maya, but suddenly Asahi hits his head and comes back to his senses. Hearing her brother confess his love makes Maya nosebleed. She then threatens the demons to dance in exchange for their lives. Their loving moment is interrupted by Brondith, another demon who severs Giganto. The demon challenges Maya to a fight, but Asahi interrupts, stating that he will protect his older sister. Soon, he realizes his own powerlessness, which forces Maya to jump in to defeat the demon. Meanwhile, Asahi bursts out in tears as he is unable to protect his own sister. He calls him coward and weak, but Maya tells him that he is kind, strong, and a cool man. Suddenly, a meteorite hits Asahi and he comes back to his senses. After saving the village, Asahi grows a huge appetite. He asks Maya to make her special hamburger steak and then the two head to their home. Later, Asahi heads to the Adventurers Guild. To his surprise, Tane's seniors reveal that she is on a date. Unexpectedly, this statement makes Asahi jealous. He goes back to town, where he coincidentally runs into Tanya. She introduces Roy, her little brother, to Asahi, explaining that she is on a quest to another city. Meanwhile, Asahi did not expect Tanya to be the big sister type, but surprisingly her relationship is very similar to Maya and Asahi's relationship. After introductions, Roy with his puppy eyes asks Asahi to escort them out of town. Entirely, Asahi thinks that he might expose himself, but seeing Roy's cute gaze, he couldn't refuse the job. Right after, the three of them head out on their journey. That's when Asahi's bad luck strikes again, as he meets a wyvern on the main road. In a desperate situation, Asahi throws a stone at the wyvern, earning himself the stone-throwing skill, as a result defeating the wyvern. The three of them then head back to town on foot. After returning to town, Asahi is assigned a crazy quest, but thanks to both Calmeria and Maya, the quest is easily finished. On their way back, Asahi reveals that he has finally reached level 20. As a result, he has gained the affinity for level 1 light magic. Suddenly, a stray raging bull wildly runs into town, destroying everything in its path. The two ladies get ready to fight, but Asahi in a confident tone suggests that the time is perfect for him to test out his new skill. Asahi chants the incantation and suddenly a bright light appears, but to break his bubble. The spell was literally just light and nothing else. Later, Asahi continuously mopes over the fact that his light magic can just be used as a lantern. The two sisters try to cheer him up by stating that his magic can produce light, which in itself is an incredible feat, but in the end all they accomplish is to make Asahi feel like an appliance that will reduce their utility costs. After walking a while, the three of them reach their destination, Dark Crisis, a criminal clan's base of operations. The two ladies quickly start their rampage and defeat a couple of goons. That's when Asahi reminds them the objective of their quest. He explains that Tanya requested him to eradicate the criminal clan because they have been forging fake adventurer badges, spoiling the good reputation of the guild. On the other hand, Calmeria and Maya defeat all the criminals before Asahi finishes his explanations. Right after, an ogre-class adventurer named Lightning strikes Lombard. Out of nowhere, Sophie shows up with a crowd, who are dying to see Asahi in action. The situation starts to get worse, with Lombard ready to attack. Meanwhile, Maya walks to the sidelines. She breaks Lomert's sword, allowing Asahi the opportunity to strike him down, impressing the crowd in the process. On the other hand, Gloria and her servant Q on an adventurer's party is fighting Overdose, another criminal clan doing the same stuff. After defeating Overdose, Gloria asks Q on about the other clan's elimination. In response, Q on reveals that Asahi has been assigned to clear out dark crises. Meanwhile, Gloria suspects Asahi for many wrongdoings, as he jumped up the ranks faster than her. In the end, she decides that crossing swords with Asahi is the only way to determine his true strength. Meanwhile, the very first village Asahi saved from the 3 orcs invited him in order to thank him for his efforts. Everything was going well, until the village elder revealed that their village is being threatened by the orcs once more. The elder begs to Asahi to help the village in defeating the orcs. In his head, Asahi triggered a side event without Maya. Right after, an orc shows up with a bunch of monsters, forcing Asahi to take action. The orc reveals to be an older brother of the 3 Asahi defeated earlier. He attacks Asahi and knocks him down. Suddenly, Gloria and Q-on arrive and defeat the demons. She suspects that Asahi has falsified his ranking. She then challenges him to a duel in front of the entire city. After a few days, the duel commences. Before the duel, Asahi agreed to let Maya help if things got out of hand, but unexpectedly, Q-on keeps a close eye on both Maya and Kilmeria. Meanwhile, the duel begins. Gloria launches a barrage of attacks and Asahi dodges each one. He then finds the opportunity to use his light magic and win the duel. Later, he tells Gloria that raising a sword against a girl isn't his style, a kind of smooth talk that takes her by surprise. The following day, at their house, Maya and drunk Kilmeria get in an argument. She expresses the intentions of having fun, but Maya tells her to stay indoors to look after the house. The 2 siblings then head to the forest known as the Twelkstay Plain, but Asahi's quest cannot go that smoothly, as Sophie meets up with them to accompany the exalted hero in his quest. She reveals her talent of gathering herbs by throwing her staff in a random direction. After reaching the forest, the 3 of them find a fork in the road. After some consideration, Asahi sends Sophie with Maya and goes on ahead alone. On his way, he meets up with a couple of goblins, who are waiting to ambush any humans. Luckily for him, goblins are defeated by Kilmeria. Seeing her makes Asahi relieved. He also realizes that Maya noticed Kilmeria's presence. As a result, she allowed him to venture into the forest alone. Out of nowhere, a group of villagers call out for help, but it turns out Asahi was too late to reach them. A strange wizard known as Malvikant, who steals the soul of the villagers in the forest. He then transforms them into a zombie, who move to attack Asahi. Their attacks are useless, as Asahi defeats all of them. After seeing his monsters defeat, the wizard tries to steal Asahi's soul, and in the nick of time, Kilmeria saves Asahi from the wizard. Upon seeing Kilmeria of corruption, the wizard reveals that he serves one of the 6 demon generals, Woodboss. He then reveals that his boredom led to him stealing all of the villagers' souls, but he was unaware of Kilmeria's presence in the forest. With her strength, Malvikant proposes that they should invade and take over the royal capital. Their conversation is interrupted by Asahi, who stands up for Kilmara, stating that she is kind and honest. Asahi's marvelous words bring a tear to Kilmeria's eye. In a state of anger, she fires off her flame lance to kill the wizard. Soon the souls of the villagers return to their bodies. After clearing everything, Asahi and Kilmeria meet up with Maya and Sopai. Fortunately, she finds the flower needed to complete the quest. Meanwhile, Maya reveals that she had a fun and peaceful time with Sophie, making Asahi question his choices. The next day, Asahi meets up with Gloria, who asks him to accompany them on a quest. The 3 of them go deep in the forest to look for the missing adventurers. On their way, Q-on questions Gloria's intention of inviting Asahi to tea, but due to her nervousness she messes up and instead invites him to join the quest. Gloria tries to treat their quest as a date, but eventually she fails. After walking a while, Asahi uses his flash spell to reveal the location of the missing adventurers. Unexpectedly, a tree monster had captured the missing adventurers. Using her monstrous strength, Gloria defeats the monster. After getting back to town, she sulks over the fact that their date went horrible. Meanwhile, Asahi returns home only to find Maya and Kilmeria in a pro wrestling match. The next morning, Q-on personally comes to wake up Asahi, which comes off as a big surprise. She reveals that Maya let her in. Thinking that Asahi must have woken up, she then asks Asahi for a favor regarding her and Gloria. After getting ready, Q-on takes Asahi to Gloria's noble house, where she reveals that Gloria is planning to run away from the house and she wants Asahi to pack Gloria's stuff for a whopping 5,000 mani. After packing everything, Gloria comes downstairs ready to run away, but the maids cling to her very hard. convincing her not to go, but Gloria uses her monstrous strength to shake them. At the gate, Gloria's butler makes an appearance. In his mind, Asahi thinks that the butler looks like a Sabeston, and to his utter shock, the butler's name is Sabeston. That's when Sabeston reveals that he is a venerated adventurer who specializes in the use of steel thread, but Mrs. Musclebrains uses her strength to clear the path. After a long journey, Asahi arrives at Gloria's new house, which in reality is a villa. He then helps them get settled in the house. Meanwhile, Sabeston hires a dragon-class adventurer named Tiga to bring back Gloria because he thinks that she is being deceived by Asahi. He tells Tiga to show Asahi a world full of pain, but to their surprise Maya arrives and gives them a demonstration of her power, destroying their resolve. Back at the villa, Gloria enjoys her time with Asahi. She then asks Kuon to create a reason for Asahi to visit their mansion a lot. That's when Kuon proposes that they create a clan and use the mansion as its base of operations. Later, Asahi meets with Tanya to discuss things about the clan. She reveals that the guild always welcomes a new strong clan since it will become the new face of the guild like Balmek. Their conversation is interrupted by Sophie, who tightly clings to Asahi, begging to join their clan. She shows off her stats to prove her resolve. Surprisingly, her levels are above Asahi. At night, Asahi returns home to discuss the clan thing with Maya. He wants to know her opinion since she is the main character of the story, but Maya states that Asahi is the main character because he achieved many feats like saving Kulmeria and Sophie, defeating Gloria in a duel. She then tells Asahi that his stats does not make him weak, instead it makes him strong. Unfortunately, Asahi is turned to stone and during a quest by a lizard. All of the girls try use various methods to heal Asahi, including taking a bath together, which was torture for Asahi because he was conscious inside. Later, in the midst of night, Kulmeria returns Asahi back to normal using her heal spell. Another exciting adventure awaits Asahi, as Tanya reveals that there have been many shark attacks on the beach, a situation which gets Asahi excited like none other. He recalls all the shark movies he has watched and the various scenarios in them, including double-headed sharks, shark tornadoes, and much more. After discussing it with Maya, Asahi decides that the two of them are enough to complete the quest. The two of them then head to the beach. To their surprise, the entire clan follows them soon. The girls won't let their competition take the lead. After reaching the beach, Asahi is mesmerized by the view and the vastness of the sea. Just then, Gloria and Kuon reveal that they have already killed all the sharks that have been attacking the locals, since the sharks attacked them the moment they arrived. Meanwhile, Asahi calls the success of the quest and plans to head back, but the girls had some other plans. Kuon proposes to take the day off and enjoy the beach. She quickly reveals an entire buffet of swimsuits custom made for each of the girls. Soon the girls appear in the swimsuits, revealing their true self. That's when Kulmeria shows up and disappoints everyone. Later, the 10 greatest sharks show up only to be defeated by the clan. Unexpectedly, Asahi and Maya drift to a deserted island, and after a while, they meet up with the clan and together defeat the Great Sea King. A beautiful day is ruined by heavy rainings. Kulmeria proposes that they stay indoors, spending the day while drinking, while Maya suggests that they should go outside under one umbrella to enjoy their time. The bickering continues. Meanwhile, Asahi slips away using escape skill. After a while, the rain finally comes to a halt. Asahi and the others step outside, but suddenly, Asahi is grabbed by the water. The ladies use their magic, but Asahi stops them in time, stating that their attack will kill him as well. He then uses escape to safely escape. The group then finds out that the entire town is covered in slime. Meanwhile, the locals are gathering to go somewhere high. After running through town, Asahi finds Tanya stuck in the slime. He saves her and promises Tanya that he will locate Roy. After searching for a while, Asahi finds Roy, who is protecting a young girl. He takes Roy and the others over to Gloria's place, where Sophie's is constantly healing people. Meanwhile, many monsters make their way into town, forcing Sieg and the others to take action. Soon after, Maya, Asahi, and the others find the slime core. He uses his level 2 stone throwing technique to destroy the core, a feat which makes Maya proud of his little brother. After defeating the slime, Asahi reaches the golem class and the others celebrate his success at his home.